Alright, so in today's video we're going to talk about kind of diagnosing and figuring out kind of what's tight in you and kind of what to look for if you're having trouble with the squat. One of the most common things that people have issues with, at least in personal training, if you're NASM certified or have got an assessment, like an overhead squat assessment, is kind of what we use or what personal trainers use to kind of assess the way people move. Have their hands go above their head, and what they do is they'll squat. You'll see a client squat down and see kind of what their position is like. And typically, just based on my movement, I'm just going to squat, not necessarily trying to be active in any particular part. You can see how much I lean forward. This can mean a lot of different things. Typically means my lats are tight. It means my hip flexors are tight. It probably means my ankles are tight. Which one is the bottleneck? Chances are all of them are. It's probably, if anything, has more to do with motor control than anything else. So hands above my head, like if I really focus on pushing my knees out, squeezing my butt, and tightening my core, and then really trying to sit, I can stay a little bit more upright. I still lean forward, but it's much better than the previous example. So a lot of the time when I'm at the gym and I'm stretching and I'm doing all these things before I work out, people always say to me, it's like, hey, well, you stretch the most in comparison to all of us. And that's what a lot of the trainers say to me. And the reason why is because I have trouble getting into certain positions. And that's when mobility is important. If you can't get into a certain position, it means something is preventing you. You have a bottleneck. So it's kind of knowing what your bottleneck is and trying to work around that. So today I want to talk about two bottlenecks that's common in most people, and I want you to work on them and see if they improve your ability to squat. Chances are they will, but throughout this entire week it's going to be kind of a self-discovery of figuring out which of the muscles or flexibility movements I go over come from that are going to give you the most bang for buck. And that's kind of what you need to do. And once you're able to find your most bang for buck movement, mobility movement, then you're going to find the one or two things you can do every single day until you can essentially get down ass to grass or get down to parallel without a problem. So let's talk about that. So the one thing that's a big factor is the adductors, the inner thighs. Typically the butt wink is a big deal. Like the pelvis will duck in when they squat. So when they squat, the lower back will dump. So as they squat down, they'll look like this. The back will round, so you get this little wave almost, and you get a lot of spinal shearing when you have a bar on your back. Your stomach's not tight enough. So how do you fix this? Typically, what's most commonly mentioned is the hamstrings are tight, and this can be a little more complicated than that, because in the previous video I made, I talked about Dean Somerset in the video article he wrote about people with different hip sockets, and also the Chris Duffin video about the Scottish hip. Links are in the description if you haven't seen that. Also the previous video, there'll be a link in the description. So one of the things that I've found for me personally in helping a lot of clients that I train is working on the adductors. There's a lot of different ways to hit the adductors, but smashing the crap out of them and improving their ability. It's not just the hamstring, because the hamstrings are actually very similar to the adductors, or not similar, they're similar in the similar spot, because hamstrings are here, adductors are basically in a very similar position that have a very similar function. They also cause hip extension, but they also cause adduction, whereas the hamstrings are not really involved in the adduction as far as the actual primary movement. So and in this case right now, I'll show a video kind of looking over the anatomy, and in case some people have asked me like where I got this video from or where this what software I use. It's called Muscle Premium 3D. There's a link in the description. And there's also undisclosure, it's an affiliate link. So if you decide to buy it, it does help me out, to help me make a little bit of money making these videos. But keep in mind that look at where the muscle is. You kind of see how it pennates. Pennates is where how the fibers run along and the way they move. And when that muscle is not able to move the way it does, it's kind of hard to really see it, because the reason why is because you see the anatomical figure, arms are to the side, it's just straight. It's hard to really see with it bent, because there's with the knee and full hip flexion. So it's kind of like you really have to know anatomy really well. And if I can find another video or another software that can kind of show that stuff, I will. But let's go on into the homework. That is the inner thigh smash. So there are two inner thigh smashes I like. They kind of get them from different angles. The first one is using a kettlebell or using a foam roller. And all you're going to do is you're going to get right here into this section where your hip is. Let me move my camera here for a second. So you're going to go onto the floor, get a kettlebell or a foam roller, and get into that inner thigh, just like this. Going to dig right in, turn in. Holy crap, I haven't smashed this in a while. That shit fucking hurts. You're going to dig right in and let that thing press in there. Hold for about 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. just roll in and out. Find a spot. You can travel all along the leg and roll in. Again, you can use a foam roller. I have a ball here. You can use a soft ball, which can be effective. The thing is that depending on your anatomy and your size, this might be a little bit harder to do, but it can be accomplished. You can press into that inner thigh a little bit. The way I like to use a soft ball for inner thigh smashing is I like to get a table, or a bench, and I like to get on here, so that way I can get like right in this section here, right where it connects to the hip and the crotch area, or as Kelly Starrett calls the grundle, and dig right in right there. So that way it's like basically right there into your package area. And then you're gonna turn in, you're gonna extend the leg and extend, and just kind of roll across, because the fibers run like this. Yeah, they run like this, and what you're doing with the ball is you're trying to cross over those fibers, roll in and roll out. You can extend the leg, relax it, you can roll in, extend, roll in, and then find a different spot, and just kind of, right there, I found a really yucky spot, and just turn in and press. And then after doing that, what you're gonna do, spend again 2 minutes on each side, you're gonna get a kettlebell or a dumbbell, and you're going to do our goblet squats, or we'll call them the Dean Somerset goblet squats. Goblet squat test for motor control. Like if you can't squat ass to grass, like take a look for a second here. I'm gonna try to squat without the kettlebell, and look, I can get down there already. Pretty good, right? I can't get quite as low because I'm still tight, so I'll get the kettlebell here, the Dean Somerset goblet squat, pushing these out, and now I can get a little bit lower. And then what I'm gonna do is set the weight down, balance here for a moment, see if I can balance, and then come back up, then repeat. Push your knees out, balance for a moment, come back up. And that's the homework. Do that 10 times, 2 minutes on each side, and do that 10 times. See you guys in the next one.